Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Logical Nonsense Podcast. Today we have Clint Daly from the Daly Dose Podcast. He is an ex-high school basketball coach, as well as a writer for the Bleacher Report and Mile High Sports Magazine. And currently, as I just said, the host for Daly Dose Podcast. But most importantly, fans, he is a Broncos fan, which I just absolutely love. We've been looking for these. They are hard to find these days. 2016, there were a lot more, not so much anymore, but we love it. Can't wait to talk about the coming NFL season with it starting tomorrow, as well as the Denver Broncos. Clint, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm very, very happy to be here.
Thank you. Thanks for hopping on.
Of
I
course.
will give you a chance to introduce yourself as well as where people can find you.
Sure. Yeah. I appreciate that. Started the Daily Dose going on 10 years ago in December. And, we talk sports. We try to bring a little bit of common sense. Like you said, I was a high school basketball coach for a number of years. And so many times, this in the world of sports media, we get the hot takes. We get the, oh,
Yep.
it sounds cool. It makes for great, I don't know, is water cooler still a thing? Conversation.
Yeah.
But most of it's stupid. And
Yep.
so we try to bring a little bit of common sense to it, try to bring maybe a little bit of levity to it, not going to take ourselves too seriously, going to laugh at a lot of the sports world and enjoy it because that's kind of what it's there for. At the same time, hopefully bring a little bit of knowledge, bring a little bit of insight. The rule here at the Daily Dose is always, it better be funny or it better be insightful. It's got to be one of the
Yep.
two. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yep. I love that. I love that. Perfect. And where can people find it on all platforms?
All platforms. You can go to dailydosesports.com if nothing else, but it is DALY. There's no other I's or E's or any of that. Just DALY, dailydosesports.com. You will find us. I do still put some articles out. Most of them are satirical. Some of them every once in a while I'll do a serious one, but usually at this season I'll do like a Bronco, article every week. So if you need some Bronco coverage, stop by dailydosesports.com. You can find what you need there.
Definitely. I'll definitely have to check it out myself now that I know you. So let's
Yeah,
hop right into the Broncos content. Big
I'm
news
ready.
today. I did not have this question forwarded to you because it happened today. Pat Surtain extends
Yeah,
the deal with the Denver Broncos. I want to say the highest paid cornerback in the league, if I'm not mistaken.
you're right.
Huge deal. First, is this the best Denver Broncos move in the last 5 years?
I mean, it's a good move. Surtain can play. Surtain has a little bit of Champ Bailey to him, so I'm never going to say, "Don't worry about talent."
Yeah.
Am I a guy that says, "Put all your money in a corner or an edge player"? No, I'm gonna build from the center and work my way out. I
Yeah.
like the move a lot. Do I love it? No, because I want those guys around the center of the ball.
Yeah.
Having said that, if you've got a lockdown corner, which
Yeah.
at times PS2 is,
Yeah.
now, will he look much better with a better pass rush? Yeah, he will. Anybody will. So,
Absolutely. I can agree
like
with
I
that.
said,
Yeah.
like the move. Do I love it? No, but let's see how they start to look in those trenches, and then we'll get a better idea of how he's going to look because he's going to be a lot better when they get better there.
Yeah, no, that's a great point you bring up with the better pass rush because he had one when he first started there, and then the last few seasons it's been kind of meh. So I agree with that for sure. I'm excited to see if this young pass rush can really bring it this year because we've been talking about the young guns. We want to give them a chance with Nick Bonito and some of the other guys on that line.
Yeah.
I know they just drafted Ellis as well, so there's some other guys. And I'm excited to see what they can do this year. So going to our next big announcement, Bo Nix was announced rookie captain last this I think it was yesterday as
Yeah.
well. Is he the real deal? We saw a lot of snippets of him in preseason. It's hard to always tell with preseason clips. But do you think he's the real deal?
You know, Bo is going to be really interesting to watch because we're seeing something that we haven't really seen here in Denver. One, he is the son of a football coach, Auburn quarterback Patrick Nix. He comes from that background. But the thing to keep in mind with Bo, he played 3 seasons at
Mhm.
Auburn,
Mhm.
named 2019 SEC player freshman of the year, I believe. Then he transfers to Oregon. So he's played in multiple systems, but he played 5 seasons of college football. You know,
Yeah.
when John Elway came here, I think he was 23.
Yep.
John was special. I'm not comparing the two, but you got to realize Bo's almost 25 years old. That's a
Yeah.
big difference. In his college career, 113 touchdowns, over 15,000 yards. He's played a lot of football. So
Yeah.
we're not bringing in this young guy that's still trying to figure things out. He's been in a few different systems at Oregon, at least in a little bit of a complex, more of a pro style system. You know, he's a pretty bright guy. When Sean Payton came and was kind of looking at Bo and bringing him in and talking to him, they say he sent him home with like a short game plan to study overnight. He came back the next day and had it memorized, knew
Yeah.
every single thing. Now, I'll give you a brief little story. I'm not trying to get off track too far. I
No,
was
no, no.
I was writing for
Totally
Cover
fine.
32
Yeah.
as a Broncos editor and featured columnist back when the Broncos drafted a young kid. I won't say his name, but it rhymes with Flaxton Flinch. And I had a few buddies in the media room. And when they brought in after they drafted him, they asked him a couple questions and they said, "Hey, you know, where are you from and what have you studied and what have you done and stuff like that." And he had to sign his paperwork. You got to sign your actual contract. And one of the things he had to fill out on his contract was, what year did you graduate? He got his cell phone out and called his mom to ask her when he graduated.
Oh, wow.
And now you compare that to a Bo Nix.
Yeah.
And I'm not comparing the two, but my goodness, we're getting a different animal here. We're
Yeah.
not getting a 21-year-old kid. We're getting a grown man that
Yeah.
knows a little bit of how to play the game, how to prepare for the game. And, you know, being from a basketball background, we used to always look at something Bob Knight would say, and Bob Knight fan or whatever, but he'd always say dumb loses more than smart wins. Well,
True.
just don't have the huge self-inflicted mistakes.
Yeah.
Prep for your game. Know your game plan. Know what your coach wants from you. Don't lose the game.
Yeah.
Just don't go out and lose the game. And I think Bo Nix, because I know in watching him a lot at Auburn, he had some bad Bo, and it
Yeah.
looked like at Oregon over the last year or so, he kind of got rid of some of those losing mistakes. I'm not going to lose the game for us, and hopefully
Yeah.
I can make a play to win it for us. It just is a little bit different. Is he the real deal? We're not going to know for a while. Are
Yeah.
there really promising signs? Yeah, there's some signs to kind of get excited about because you're like, I don't know, he might get it. He's not
Yeah.
calling mom to ask when he graduated.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm excited about Bo Nix. I think he's shown not only through college, but also through preseason ball, his maturity as a QB passer. He knows the game. His football IQ is off the charts, I think. I think he looked the most pro ready out of any of the other rookie quarterbacks, in my opinion. Just because of the fact that he knows how to run multiple different offenses. He has the ability to run, which is underrated about his game. I feel like isn't talked about enough. Everyone always talks about, he's more of a, medium to short passer, which in today's game, I actually think fits well. We're seeing quarterbacks, and I know both of these guys have a lot of weapons, much different offense, but Tua Tagovailoa, Brock Purdy, those guys are having success in the NFL right now for a reason. It's because they're accurate and they can get the ball to their weapons. People in the NFL are fast. They just need the ball in their hands right now.
Correct.
And so I think Bo Nix can do that. I think that's what Sean Payton likes about him is how accurate he is, how good his football IQ is. So I'm excited to see how he does in year one. I think it is unrealistic for us to have extremely high expectations for this kid. Remember, he is a rookie, but he is, I think, coming in with some really promising things in terms of looking ready, especially when we saw him running the offense in preseason. So I'm excited for him a lot.
I am too. And you bring up a number of good points and his ability to move, his ability to escape pressure, his ability just not necessarily to take off and run, but sometimes just to avoid the pressure while still looking downfield.
Yeah.
Not only that, maybe the most impressive throw that I saw him throw is on a 3rd and long. He was kind of
Yeah. I know
stepping
what you're
back on
talking
his
about.
back foot and he threw that sideline out.
Yeah.
It was on a rope and he didn't lean into it. He just kind of
No.
flicked it. He's got a better arm, I think, than I thought he did. He's got a much stronger arm than I thought he did. We haven't seen that combination of skills in quite a few years.
Yeah.
Drew Lock had this or that, didn't have the mental, Lynch and some of those guys. Russ, obviously, what went on with him, but even Peyton, and this isn't taking anything away from Peyton, but Peyton didn't have an athletic bone in his body. That's fine. He more than made up for it in other ways. But we haven't seen this kind of athlete. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Maybe Jake Plummer, maybe something along those lines. It might be something like that, but it's been a while. We've been hungry for something like this for a while.
I completely agree with that too. I think his arms underrated too. I say his legs are underrated, but I agree with you there with the arm slinging. He was in an offense last year that just, in my opinion, doesn't really believe in the deep ball. And when they did, it's like, maybe once, 2, 3 times a game. Like they were a screens, get the ball out quick. We're gonna basically run it down your throats through the passing game. Like we are a high pace offense.
Yep.
We're getting the ball out quick
and let them make plays.
Exactly. So I think, did it hurt him when it came to the draft process? Probably. But I don't think it's not there because of it.
True.
And I think that's something that scouts kind of missed. Obviously we're gonna find out, right? Like we're not gonna hide from it. Like, and Sean Payton, I don't think is scared of it either. So we're gonna see. I'm excited to watch what he's capable of for sure. But
it's gonna be really fun.
Is gonna be fun. Yeah.
I can't wait. He's got a couple of weapons. Do they probably need to upgrade his weapons in the next few years? Yeah. But he's got a couple of weapons that are gonna be fun to watch.
Yeah.
And again, let him get the ball to those playmakers and let's see what happens. What I liked the other part I liked of what we saw from him in the preseason, the moment never looked big. He never looked overwhelmed. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure there will come a few times this year he will look a little overwhelmed, but he's done it for too long. He's just more of a veteran than what you think of when you think of a rookie quarterback.
Yes, exactly. I completely agree. And some people see that age thing as a disadvantage, and I actually, not always, but a lot of times I think it is an advantage because of how much experience he has had. So,
for sure.
And I'm excited to see when you talk about weapons, which players step up. I think you have guys like Reynolds, Marvin Mims. Those two right there, they have an opportunity to step up. Let's see if they do. What are you most looking forward to with this Denver Broncos team?
Obviously Nix and some of those things are really, really exciting, but the biggest thing, and I know this is probably a coaching thing, it's going to be the boring thing. I'm going to watch those trenches. I'm going to see, can they hold up? Because the last 7, 8, probably even going back to Peyton, I think Peyton hit a lot of flaws with that offensive line, especially because he was so smart at where he wanted to go with the ball. The offensive line has kind of been forsaken for a number of years. So it looks like they might be improving. Garrett Bowles, Mike McGlinchey, that's a solid edge tandem at tackle. Quinn Miners is one of the best guards in the league.
Facts. Very true.
You're going to need Ben Powers. You're going to need Luke Wattenberg. You're going to need some of those guys to get up to speed. If they can, this team might be better than people think, because up front, they're going to be a little bit better. Yeah. On the other side, I want to, we talked about a little bit before, I want to see that defensive line because they're starting to get some depth. I just don't know if they have the overall talent. Yeah. I mean, John Franklin Myers, he might be the most talented defensive lineman that we have. We just got him. We kind of stole him. We didn't really give up much for him. Zach Allen is solid, but he's not maybe what he was. But you talked about it before. Nick Bonito, Baron Browning, Jonathan Cooper, those are the guys. They've got to step up and show, hey, you can't push us around up front. You can't run it down our throat. And when we get the opportunity to get after your pass rusher or your passer, we're going to come get him. And if they do those things, this team might actually surprise some people. They might be a lot better than people think, but it's going to start up front.
Yeah. No, it's a big if too, right? Like people do have to step up on this team. I think that's what's kind of unique about this team versus years past is in years past, it's almost felt like this expectation of we have to perform because we've gone out and we've gotten those assets, right? Like Russ and all these, like it's felt like we've done everything to succeed. Now we have to. This team, it almost feels like we're giving them an open script, right? We're giving guys like Baron Browning, Nick Bonito, To your point, those guys were letting, hey, we need you to step up. If we want to be good, we need you to step up. Here's the crown, right? Like now
Yeah.
go perform. And so I'm excited to see how these young guys react to that because, I think as a team, as a GM, we can see which guys we want to keep pretty
Yeah.
easily,
Yeah.
because they are put in those positions. So, and the good news is we do have a lot of young guys, and
Yep.
so we can transition quickly um, if somebody is not performing. So
Sure.
I'm excited. I think the defense is going to be probably the most interesting piece to me.
Yeah.
I mean, offense is always interesting, but I think this is the most we've really, what's the word for it? I don't want to say disintegrated, but like really shooken up our defense. I mean,
Where it feels like a rebuild, kind of. Yeah.
yes, Justin Simmons, Kareem Jackson, all these
Yeah.
guys gone, right? And so it really feels like we've shook up this defense. So
Yeah, and they needed to. They were spending a lot of money and not really getting a lot of bang for their buck. One other point that's out there is some of these guys, Browning, Cooper, Benito. Hey,
yeah,
these are guys looking for that second big contract.
yep,
Go prove it. Go
yeah,
prove it. You got a shot this
good
year.
point.
Go make that contract. You can
Yeah,
get it. You've got the opportunity. And next year's coming, we won't be so cash strapped as we are this year. So
yeah.
go make your money.
And we've seen glimpses from all of those guys,
Oh
right?
yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
Cooper, I've seen him have huge games. I've
Yep.
seen Benito have good games. I've seen Browning have great games. And when I see those games, I'm like, shit, man, like I understand why they're doing this, but
Yes,
we need to see it consistently for them to
you're
get
right.
that big check. So,
Yeah, that's right. You've got to do it every week. You've got to be a
yep,
threat every week. It can't be, hey, for 2 series, he kind of went out and didn't. No, every single week, this guy's coming.
definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
for sure.
All right. Well, we talked about the future that we're excited
Yeah.
about. Let's talk about the past a little bit. It
All
might be a
right.
little bitter, but let's go to what went wrong with Russ. I always like asking people, especially Broncos fans, because everyone
Yeah.
has a little bit different take on it. So I want to hear your take on what you think went wrong with Russ.
Well, my take might be a little bit different than you're going to hear. Uh, my take is that Russ suffers from PTSD. Here's something I want you to think about. Houston Texans quarterback David Carr holds the record for the most sacks by a quarterback in a single NFL season. He was sacked 76 times back
Yeah.
in 2002. He lasted just 5 seasons in the league of really being a starter.
Yep.
Russ played 10 seasons in Seattle. He was sacked 527 times.
Holy
That's
cow.
on average, 53 sacks
Yeah.
a year. I mean, how do you not hear ghosts? How are you not scrambling yourself into sacks? You've been hit too many times. You've been abused too many times. Russ is an odd guy, but he has PTSD.
Yeah.
He's been hit too much. He can't function. We saw a couple times last year and the year before, he would drop back, clean pocket, and he
Yep.
would kind of scramble himself into trouble or throw the ball before he needed to. He's been hit too many times. Now, when he was younger and he could take that physical beating and he was just so athletic, he was out there making plays. Great. Seattle, you got the best of him. Great run, by the way, while they had him. We didn't get that. We got the broken guy that was
Yeah.
seeing ghosts and hearing footsteps. Honestly, Russ probably needed to do a weekend in Joshua Tree with Aaron Rodgers and just clear his mind
Yeah.
and get some of that DMT
Yeah.
to shore up that PTSD. He just didn't look like the same guy. I think Seattle knew when they let him go, he's not the same as he was. No, he's not, because you guys kind of broke him. And I don't see how he ever gets back to being that guy, because
Yeah.
he's been in the league now over 10 years. It's awful tough. You look at anyone, I don't care if it's Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, John Elway, when they
Yeah.
start getting the end of that career, getting hit hurts a
Yeah.
lot, and they don't
Yeah.
want to get hit anymore. Well, Russ
Yep.
doesn't want to get hit anymore. And he was still getting hit here in Denver, don't get me wrong, but he got beat up in Seattle, and I don't think he's ever been the same. I really don't. He'll make a play here or there. He just
Yeah.
can't consistently do it because he's hearing footsteps. And I think that's honestly what broke him here in Denver.
Okay. No, that's an interesting take. I honestly I respect it a lot. I think it's very valid, especially you think I mean, there's a lot of Seattle fans that I have
Yeah,
around me. And so
sure.
I mean, they talked about we need to improve the line. We can't pay the line anymore whenever he was gone. And then the moment he left, they're like, "Oh, we finally pay our line now that he's gone." It's like, "Well,
See,
I have the money." So, I
after
mean,
you
I
kill
hear
the
what you're
guy,
saying. So, it's interesting. I I think personally it was a mix between fit, expectations, and kind of what you were talking about as well. I think in terms of expectations, I kinda talked about it earlier, we've always
yeah.
feels like we've had these expectations for what, the last 9 years?
Well, yeah.
Uh,
Hey, Peyton Manning did it. Plug in a good quarterback, and we're going to
yep.
be a Super Bowl champs. Well, it's not
No,
that easy. It's just not.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly, and we tried
you're
it with
right.
Joe Flacco, right?
Yeah,
We tried it with, Case Keenum, kind of, not necessarily, but kind of.
yeah,
We've
they
tried
did.
it a few times, and not the same recipe always works, and I think it's good to see them finally move on from that, but it sucks that Russ had to be almost like a victim of that,
It
trying, I
does.
guess?
Yeah,
Uh,
because it
um,
wasn't his fault. It really wasn't. You
no.
talked about the system. I don't know what the Nathaniel Hackett system was. If someone can explain it to me, I'd be glad to listen because that was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my life, and that really, really put things on a bad start. Had he come here from his first year with Sean Payton, maybe he does look a little bit different. Maybe he gets out of Seattle and Sean kind of
True.
revives his career. Hey, Russ looked the best he's looked in the last 5 years last year
I
during
agree.
that wild stretch where they were winning games and he was actually but I think Sean looked at it and said, "This is way too much money to pay a guy I gotta babysit. I'll go babysit a rookie and we'll spend less money." Tough situation for Russ. I don't have any ill will towards Russ. Is he a weird guy? Yeah. Does he have a touch of autism? Sure. Does he say weird things? Yeah. I think he's a good guy, and I think he's a quarterback who's just a little
Yeah.
bit past his prime.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, he definitely had I agree with the season last year. I mean, a lot of people overhate on what he did last year. He actually looked really good at certain points in the year, and
Yeah, he
I think
did.
he showed that he still had some of it in him for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's what was tough for a lot of Broncos fans is they saw that and they're like this. But I really liked what you said about Nathaniel Hackett. He kind of really got off to a rocky start with Nathaniel Hackett, and it's like you go from Nathaniel Hackett to Sean Payton, who are complete opposite, like,
Yes.
in so many different ways, and so to go from that to Sean Payton, that transition's crazy. I
Yeah,
mean,
it is.
it I don't know how you could succeed, and so I think starting from scratch is almost better with Bo
You're
Nix.
right. You're right, because he really was the way he was kind of brought in, he really was kind of set up to fail in Denver. I don't know that you can blame it. It's just kind of a bad situation,
Yeah.
but he didn't have much of a chance. If he has a couple years with Sean Payton, I think it's probably a little bit of a different outcome. It just that first year, whew,
Yeah.
that's as bad of a coaching job as I've
Yeah.
seen in my life,
It
and
was
I've seen
hard.
some
It was
bad coaching
genuinely
jobs.
hard to watch Broncos
It
games.
was. It
And I
was tough.
mean, we've had 9 years of whatever, but at least
Bad
I
football.
can yeah, at least I can look at those 9 years and almost every single one of those years, like, remember I can remember this game, that was a good moment, or you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, there was very few good moments that season, like,
Oh,
very few.
remember that opener against Seattle? And that was
It
that
was
was
awful.
because
It
you're
was
kind of
awful.
excited, and then remember Hackett runs the clock down to try a 64-yard field goal, and I went, "Oh, no. Oh, no,
Yeah,
we've made a mistake. We have the wrong guy."
yeah,
That's a bad
and
feeling, and I think
that's when we
ownership
had,
did the same thing.
Melvin Gordon, right? We had Melvin Gordon,
Gordon.
and he
Yeah.
fumbled, what, twice that game?
Yes, yes.
Right at the goal line?
At the
We had to
goal
freaking
line, it was
we had to
unreal.
freaking, drop him
His
that
knack.
season because he
Oh,
wouldn't hold on to the ball.
couldn't. Never could. No.
Yeah, terrible.
Had a knack and had a knack for fumbling at the goal line,
Yeah,
anywhere, but I remember fumbling at the goal line for, like, a 98-yard return. Oh, kinda set up to fail, Russ, sorry.
yeah,
You know
yeah,
what? That was a bad hire. Should have brought somebody better than Hackett. I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
Alright, well, I feel like I know the answer to this next question just based off of what you said, but I'm still gonna ask it anyways. Whose fault
Sure.
was it, Sean Payton, Russell Wilson, or neither?
Well, I think it's just a bad situation, but I will say this. There are currently 2 coaches in the NFL that have led the league in total yardage the most number of times. Kansas City Chiefs coach Andy Reid has led the league 5 times in total yardage. Very impressive. Sean Payton has led the league in total yardage 6 times.
Wow.
There are a number of people that think Drew Brees made Sean Payton. Don't get that twisted. I know there's a lot of young fans out there. There's a lot of young listeners out there. They don't know the history. Drew Brees was a 500 quarterback. He was a 500 quarterback. Sean Payton made him really, really good. Made him a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
I mean, go look at his numbers when he was with the Chargers. And I know the Chargers are the Chargers. Sean Payton's really, really good at offensive football. We can discuss, the rest of the things. Is Sean Payton a jerk? And whatever. He's really good at offensive football. So I think it was just a bad situation. If Russ doesn't have that massive contract, maybe it works out differently. If Sean is here when Russ comes here, maybe it works out differently. It's a bad situation probably for all parties involved. It's probably just best that, as bad as it was that Denver did what they did and said, hey, Russ, go find your best situation. We're going to go get our guy. You do what you do, and we'll go from there. I think it was probably the best. Like you said, let's just clean the slate. Let's just start over.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So you're going neither?
Bad situation. Okay. And I guess if I had to blame someone, I guess I can put it on Russ being past his prime, but it's just a bad situation. He could have still been useful in the right situation. This just wasn't it.
That's fair. I probably would have gone neither as well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thinking of clean slates.
Yeah.
He's in Pittsburgh now.
Yes, he is.
How do we think he will do under Mike Tomlin? It's hard to bet against the Pittsburgh Steelers at this point, at least being 500. So do you think Russ will perform better in Pittsburgh?
No, I don't. And I'll tell you why. I think it might be worse. I don't think Tomlin is quite as quarterback friendly as Sean Payton is. And now what he didn't have in Denver, he didn't have the guy behind him looking over his shoulder. He has that now in Justin Fields. That's a very different situation. If he goes out and he goes 10 of 23 for 114 yards and an interception, the fans are going to be screaming for Justin Fields. He didn't have that in Denver. And he had some of those nights here in Denver that he didn't look so great. He had a few days in Denver that you're like, oh man, he's having a rough day. If he has those in Pittsburgh, they're going to want the next guy. There is no one more popular than the guy you haven't seen starting or playing. I mean, even if you've seen your top 2 quarterbacks, you always think, I bet our 3rd string quarterback is really, really good because I've never seen him play. Now the coaches have seen him play in practice. They know he's horrible, but you're like, I don't know, maybe he's really good and we just don't know. No, he's not. But when you don't have that guy behind you, it changes things. And I think that's going to be a little bit harder for Russ in Pittsburgh. And like you said, hey, those fans are used to winning, not scraping and almost winning. No, they want to win. Tomlin wins games, and it won't surprise me if he ends up having to make a move at quarterback by Halloween, because I just don't know if Russ still has it. I'm kind of rooting for the guy. I think he's a decent guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if he can play at that level anymore. I think that's going to be tough.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting situation. I mean, the AFC North is, in my opinion, by far the toughest division in football right now. I mean,
all 4 teams
every
could
single
be playoff
team could be playoff teams this year, and I wouldn't bat an eye about it. Like,
no,
you have a case for every single team. When I was doing my over unders this year, it was hard for me to say who was going to be under, because you're telling me Cleveland Browns are going to be under. Okay, look at that defense. Like
loaded with talent.
Any of them. So it's really tough. They're in a really tough division. Tomlin, it's hard to bet against him, but Tomlin, to your point, is going to make the right decision. I will say this about Pittsburgh, though. I feel like they do have a tendency to, if they believe in somebody, for example, Kenny Pickett, they kind of stick with him for the rest of the season.
Rally around him. Yeah.
So I could see for the season they'll rally around him, but if he doesn't perform right away, I don't know. I'm hoping he has a good season in Pittsburgh.
I am too. I hope he plays well.
I think it would be a good ending for him, at least.
If you're looking at his career,
Yeah.
have you ever seen a guy, and I'm not saying either way because I have my own issues with the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but have you ever seen a guy play his way out of the Hall of Fame? Because
Yeah.
Russ might be playing his way out of the Hall of Fame. If he doesn't rally a little bit this year, is he a Hall of Famer? It
It's a good
might get a
question.
little closer. And I don't know the answer because I have my own issues with the Hall of Fame. I think
Yeah.
the Hall of Fame is kind of turning into the Hall of Very Good, not the Hall of the greatest ever. But I don't know. He literally could play himself out of the Hall of Fame. If I would have asked you 5 years ago, is Russ a Hall of Famer? I think everybody would have probably said, yeah, I think he is. I think he's going to be. Now you're like,
Yeah.
let's see
No,
what he
that's
does next.
interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I think it's debate. I personally think it's debatable. I think
I do
5 years
too.
ago, to your point, I think people thought he was going to be in the Hall of Fame
You're
because
going
they were
if
gonna
he
he was
keeps
gonna
on that
get there. He was gonna
ascent,
end
yeah,
there.
if he
Yeah.
stays on that level, then he's a Hall
Yeah.
of Famer. Now you're like, he went down and you go,
Yeah.
maybe he's not a Hall of Famer.
In ways because he only has one. Well, no, it's way different. I was gonna say Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers continued to play good and got like 4 MVPs. But I was
Sure.
thinking because Aaron Rodgers got
Got the one.
Super Bowl
Yeah.
very early in his career and then hasn't gotten one since. But he continued to play, so
Yeah.
or play
And
well, I
and
should say.
and
So
play well.
yeah,
And yeah, I mean, I don't know that I'd put Rodgers in that
no,
era yet because he has still kept his level so
yeah,
high.
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe we'll see if A Rod wants to play his way out in the next year or two.
yeah.
But
No,
right
I think
now,
A-Rod secured it just because he's
yeah.
got 4
Oh, yeah.
MVPs.
And he's got the stats, he's got the numbers, he's got the MVPs. Yeah.
To
Russ,
me, you should have at least for a QB, you should be at least top. Hmm, you should be a top 3 QB at
yes,
least 2 or 3 seasons.
for sure.
At least 2 or 3 seasons.
Yep,
Like,
I agree.
undoubtedly top 3 QB
For
for
sure.
at least 2 or 3 seasons. Let's go to your team that you think will shock the league this year.
I don't know if it would be a shock because the Chicago Bears should have a massive improvement. They
Yeah,
go add Caleb Williams, they pick up DeAndre Swift, they get Keenan Allen, they get Rome Odunze. They should be the team that jumps from like worst to first kind of a situation.
yeah.
Having said that, Chicago can't have good quarterbacks. That would be an abomination for them to do so. They've
Yeah,
never had one in the history of ever. And for them to have a good quarterback, my brain's gonna have to rewire for it because they've never had one.
yeah,
But they should be the team that goes from kind of a worst to first. The New York Jets are loaded with talent. If Aaron Rodgers and some of his teammates could stay healthy, they went 7-10 last year with Zach Wilson.
yeah, yeah.
You've got to find 3 more wins with Aaron Rodgers, don't you? I mean, that should be a playoff team. The Jets should be there.
Yeah,
But as far as like really shocking everyone, maybe it's here. Maybe it's Denver. Maybe it's a team that goes out there and not even a playoff. Maybe it's a team that goes out there and makes a push at a playoff spot. I think that would shock a lot of people because I think there's a lot of people looking at Denver saying they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league.
yeah,
It's a full-on homer pick, I understand, but there's a lot of teams out there, maybe Washington, maybe if Jalen Daniels could stay healthy and they
mhm,
could put some things together, maybe they'd be a team that you could I can't come up with a scenario where they could be a playoff team.
yeah,
And I think Denver's schedule limits their ability to be a playoff team. I think that last half of the schedule is just so tough. So if I was gonna have a team kind of worse than first, I guess I got to pick Chicago. I won't feel great about it though because Chicago can't have good quarterbacks. So just
yeah.
they're gonna have to accept it.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I think one of Chicago's best quarterbacks of all time might be Jay Cutler.
It is.
Genuinely.
It
Like,
is
it's crazy to me that he genuinely might be one of their best quarterbacks of all time.
by
Um,
far. The
yeah,
only other one you can put out there is Jim McMahon. Great for a really, really short amount of time, but about 2-3 years of being really, really
yeah,
good
yeah,
and more just a tough guy, not really just a quarterback, more just a tough
yeah,
guy. So
yeah.
no, the Bears can't have nice quarterbacks. They break them. So we'll see
Yeah.
if Chicago has anything for us this year, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to buy that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give Chicago credit. I've given them credit on this podcast before. They've set their quarterback up for success. If it doesn't
Yes, they
work,
have.
I don't know what else they can do. I mean, they have given him all the pieces. The freaking keys are in the car, ignition on. Like everything is set for him. Like it is literally a brand new car, pretty much.
You're
Like
right.
maybe the only thing you could point out is Matt Eberflus. I know there's some questions on him, but that is the only thing that
That's where the
you could
blame's gonna
point.
go. That's where
Yeah.
the blame's gonna go, because who else can you blame now? No,
No. Yeah. Yeah.
you've given him a lot of talent to play with.
So no, Bears will be an interesting team this year. I like that one. For me, I think a division that might surprise just because I don't believe in the Jaguars, which we can get to a little bit later, but I think the Indianapolis Colts could shock some people actually.
They could.
Anthony Richardson, if he stays healthy, I think this team could be really dangerous. A lot of people are talking about that Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry duo. I think Anthony Richardson, Jonathan Taylor, both
Yeah.
healthy, both wanting to play, that could be really dangerous. They just signed Adonai Mitchell, who I think could be a breakout rookie potentially. They still have Michael Pittman Jr., and that defense is extremely scrappy. They were a frisky team last year, and I
Yeah.
think they were a lot better than people thought. So that's a team that I'm betting on that could shock the league and make a playoff push.
I like that pick. I agree with you. I think that's a team that could be very, very good. The question will be with Indy, can they stay healthy? I don't know
Yeah,
that they have
that's
the depth to
a big
overcome
if.
it if
So,
they, yeah, and it is. And it's for anyone. I mean,
yep,
we say that, but like if Patrick Mahomes goes down tomorrow, it's all fun and games. Hey, good luck, KC. But for Indy, you
yeah,
don't have the people behind them just yet. But I think they're a really intriguing team. People kind of forget they just missed the playoffs a year ago with
yeah.
Gardner Minshew.
No, yes,
I
yes,
mean, yeah, you have a healthy Anthony Richardson, yeah, you're gonna be in the hunt, and I think they're a very dangerous team, like you said, especially in that division, because
yep,
does Houston take a step back? They could. I don't
yeah,
think that's outside the realm. Now expectations change. You're a
yeah,
young team. You add a couple guys that can be a little bit divisive in Stephon Diggs and Joe Mixon, yeah, they could take a step back. Talented, but you also bring in some, some locker room nonsense sometimes. So,
yeah,
yeah, I think the table's kinda set for Indy. I think the table's kinda set. You talked about Jacksonville. Hey, Doug Peterson, go prove it. You had him
yeah,
in the playoffs a year ago. You had him win a playoff game. Here's your opportunity. Go prove it. So, I think both of those teams are very, very dangerous in that division. That's a division worth watching this year. I
yeah.
won't bring up Tennessee, but those other 3 teams,
Yeah.
I'm very interested to watch.
Yeah, no, I think it's more everyone's game because everyone's penciling in Houston right now for that
Right.
division, and
Yeah,
I think it's more open than people think because
I do too.
there's something about that first year luck, not always, but something about it, and I don't there is such thing as a sophomore slump,
Yep.
and
It's real.
I'm not wishing it on him. I think CJ Stroud proved that he was a very solid quarterback last year, and he could just look the exact same, maybe even better this year. But
Yeah.
there is still a chance, and I think people are forgetting about this, that he could have a sophomore slump and there could be locker room issues, and we could see them take a step back. So I'm excited to see that division as well.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be fun, and it's easy when you're playing with house money.
Yeah,
When you go out and you're playing, say, Tennessee, and, hey, you're supposed to win this game. Last year, if you won, everybody's patting you on the back. This year, if you lose, you're a
yeah,
chump. Like, what
yeah.
happened what happened here? So, expectations can do funny things to teams.
No, exactly, exactly. All right, what's your player that you think will shock the league this year?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a good question. Alright, I'll give you a couple. I think, and this might not be popular. I think Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen could shock the league in that he actually is a little bit better this year without Stephon Diggs. He
Yeah,
doesn't have to worry about how many touches did he get today, because I got to make sure I keep that guy happy. I think maybe he just goes out and plays a little bit. I'll give another one over on the other conference, and I think just watching him a little bit last year, and I know He looks like a toddler that just got your cell phone and is running away with it.
Yep, I know who you're gonna
Kyler
say. Yep,
Murray now having a bona fide
stud.
receiver in Marvin Harrison
Yeah,
Jr., I think he might have been the best player in the draft, and
yeah,
I think that is going to be a really, really fun combo to watch. Are they gonna be a playoff team? I don't know, but I think they're gonna be fun to watch. I know here in Denver, a lot of times we get those West Coast games late. We get the Arizona game.
yeah.
I might actually have to watch Kyler run around like a little kid a little bit because he's fun to watch, but I think he might have a really, really good season. He looked like a man on a mission last year. I know they didn't have a good season. They didn't look,
Yeah.
they lost a lot of games. I think that could be a really fun combination to watch, though.
No, I like that Kyler Murray answer because he's in ways kind of been forgotten about.
Yeah.
There was a weird stint where people were saying he wasn't that good, and I don't know where that came from, but to me, he kind of silenced a lot of people last year when he came back off of injury and showed that he is really good still, especially considering his roster that was around him. He was
Didn't
the
have much
glaring
help.
person that was still showing up in games and still looking good. So I think him having Marvin Harrison Jr. will be fun to watch, to your point as well. I also like the Josh Allen one because similar to Denver and players having to prove themselves, a lot of receivers got to prove themselves in Buffalo this year
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
they
they do.
don't have the receiving core they've had in the past. Gabe Davis is gone. Stephon Diggs is gone. So whole new shoulders to rely on, I should say.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that'll be an interesting one. For me, players that will shock the league. Speaking of the Colts, I think Leatu Latu will be a
Oh, yeah. Good
defensive
call.
menace
He could
for the
be.
Colts. I really liked what he showed in preparation for the draft. I'm
Yeah.
excited to see what he does. And a guy that was hated on a lot last year, and I think has a lot to prove this year, and is set up for success, Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts could
Oh,
shock the
yeah.
league in a good way. Him and his team improved tremendously. They added another weapon, Jahan Dotson. Saquon Barkley in the backfield is never a
Yeah.
bad thing to have. I think that relieves pressure off him a lot. On that defense got a lot better too. So I think he could really prove himself again as like, hey, let's silence the doubters, kind of like Kyler Murray did too.
Yeah, that's a good call, and I know that there's a lot of people expecting big things out of Philly this year. I think Philly should be considered a favorite, but there are a lot of people dogging on Jalen Hurts and acting like, oh, that 1 year was a fluke, and all he does is run. And
No,
I
yeah,
think Jalen Hurts has a complete game, and I think he'll prove that a little bit this year.
yeah.
Having a back like Saquon behind him is only going to make him better. It's only going to
Oh,
make him more dangerous. Yeah,
totally.
that's a good call. I like that call. I think Jalen Hurts is primed for a big year this year.
I do too. I do too. All right. Speaking of QBs, which team will move on from their QB this year, do you
Ooh,
think?
oh man, that's a big one. There's a lot of teams that have bad situations like that. Like they have a quarterback room right now that you're like, good luck. I mean, you think of like Tennessee with Will Levis or New England with that mess. You've got Jacoby Brissett and then two
Yeah.
rookies. And the best quarterback is probably the rookie, but it's Joe Milton, not Drake May.
Yeah,
You've
facts.
got the Raiders with
Yeah.
with Minshew and O'Connell. They're both playing terrible. The mess in Pittsburgh that we already spoke about. But New York with Daniel Jones, I think
Yeah.
them looking at the GM, the head coach, and the quarterback, they're all kind of on that hot seat. The New Orleans Saints with Derek Carr, they go get Spencer Rattler in the draft. Hey, why are we paying this guy if he's not going to go put up any bigger numbers than a rookie would put up?
Yeah.
They might be in that situation. But I'll give you the one that I think is out there that honestly I think probably happens this year. The guy that's getting more money than anyone, and that is Deshaun Watson with Cleveland.
Yeah.
Why in the world in all the pregames, and don't get me wrong, I'm running to social media to see the pregame talk, but it's by Jameis Winston. It's not by Deshaun Watson. Why is the backup quarterback doing your pregame?
Yeah.
I don't understand that. Where is Deshaun? And from what I hear, Deshaun is kind of collecting checks and not really putting in the work and not really being a leader and not really doing those things. He basically got benched last year for Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
when do you come through on this $230-40 million deal? Guaranteed, massive contract, no leadership. He keeps having these weird injuries. I don't know. Maybe he just wants a massage. But all those accusations that are out there, at what point does Cleveland kind of pull a Denver and just go, you know what? Just cut him. Let's just move on. Let's just give it to Jameis. He can't be any worse. So of all those guys, honestly, I think it might be Cleveland.
That's a really good call. One I really didn't think of. I mean, he's been injured a lot in the last 2 years,
A lot.
and I mean,
And remember, he had that little section where he wasn't really injured. He just like didn't want to play or whatever that was. They just kind of had him sitting out. What's really going on in Cleveland?
Yeah, there's something weird going on there, and I honestly like even when he's in, I don't think he's played that great, especially
No,
compared to what we saw
he
in
hasn't been
Houston.
noticeable. You're
No,
right. No,
he has not played to his contract. We'll just leave
not
it
even
there
close.
because like he just hasn't. To me, he's not even. This might be a bold take. I don't know. I know you like common sense, but I don't know if he's been a top 15 QB in the last 2 years.
I don't know if he's been top 20. He's
Yeah,
barely
like
been on the field.
he really hasn't shown me anything that has shown that he is a top or worthy of a top paid QB right now.
No, Joe Flacco took the Browns to the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
That was not a Deshaun Watson thing. That was a Joe Flacco thing. Joe Flacco's like 40. What in the world is he doing taking your team to the playoffs? So could you have a chance this year? Hey, Deshaun's got a sprained toe or whatever, and in comes Jameis. Jameis is at least going to go shake things up. I don't know if he's going to win. He's going to say some crazy things and probably throw too many picks, but he's going to shake things up. I don't know. I could easily see Cleveland just give it to him. Who cares?
Yeah.
No, Deshaun's on the hot seat for sure. I think he's the guy that they would probably look at cutting if he doesn't do something this year, do anything.
Yeah, I really like the other examples you gave too. New Orleans, I think that's a good one. The one that I keep thinking about, and I don't know why, this is a total, like, I don't know, maybe this is just me. I think Seattle's going to move on from Geno Smith this year.
You
I
could be
think this
right.
is
Yeah.
the final year that I mean, Geno's had a good run in Seattle. I think he really has proved himself that, like, I was a starter. You know, I am a good quarterback. I am a solid quarterback. I am a guy you can get to the playoffs with. But I think this year Seattle is going to be like, we want more than just a 50-50 team. And maybe they give the chance to Sam Howell. I think it's possible. I mean, the guy can sling the ball. I think there's some, IQ, maybe some mental
Sure.
things he can learn from. But in terms of just pure arm talent, he definitely has it. He definitely can do it. So it'll be interesting to see what Seattle does.
Well, and if you're Seattle and you have the draft picks and you have
Yeah.
a decent team around him, why aren't you the team going out and saying, "Hey, we're going to go get the next guy. We're going to go
Yeah.
get,
Very true.
Carson Beck or whoever that is going to be this next year in the draft. We're ready to move on and make that move and get our franchise quarterback." Yeah, you're right. I could easily see them pulling the trigger on Geno,
Yeah.
especially if that division beats them up this year.
Yeah.
Which it could. That's a tough division.
Yeah.
You don't have Pete Carroll anymore, and maybe it's time for Pete to go. I don't know, but you don't have Pete Carroll anymore. Maybe Seattle takes a little bit of a step back this year, and they say, "Hey, it's time. Let's pull the plug on Geno." Yeah, good call.
Yeah. I like it. All right. Well, let's go to coaches. Which coach
Okay.
do you think? Which team do you think will move on from their coach?
Ooh, man, there's a bunch. Oh man, there's a bunch. I know the popular one is going to be down in Dallas. Mike McCarthy, all the heat is on the Dallas Cowboys. Hey, coaching staff and the head coach and the quarterback.
Yeah.
And I think maybe no, that's Jerry. Yeah, they are all in their final year of the contract. Now, you're too young to have witnessed the last time the Cowboys won anything but the Cowboys haven't won anything of importance
Yeah.
since I know Dre was keeping their heads ringing. So it's been a minute. Like it hasn't happened in a long, long time. Why in the world do we think the Cowboys are going to overachieve this year? I don't see it. Pressure on. No, maybe they scrape their way in the playoffs and then bow out. Mike McCarthy is definitely on a very, very hot seat. Same division. You know, we talked about it a little bit with Daniel Jones, but Brian Daboll's got to be on a hot seat with the Giants. That was a team that was a playoff team 2 years ago. Came out last year, didn't just miss the playoffs. Came out and kind of made you question what in the world are they doing. He could be on a hot seat. We talked about Matt Eberflus in Chicago. When the GM puts together all this talent, there's one thing that you know, and we see it probably more in basketball, but GMs rarely fire themselves. So they'll fire the next guy down, and that's going to be the head coach. Hey, I put together all this talent, and you didn't win anything. Yeah, Matt Eberflus, you're on a hot seat. Dennis Allen with the New Orleans Saints, you know, same situation, kind of with Derek Carr. You haven't won anything. You can't get to the playoffs. You're on a hot seat. I think the Jets will be good enough to keep Robert Saleh off the hot seat, but if not, he's going to be on a really
that one.
Seat. Having said that, the guy on the hottest seat is the guy that completely lost his locker room last year. Now, maybe he rallies. We talked about it before. I think they have a great year this year. I think they've got a quarterback that's ready to step up and have a huge season. But Nick Sirianni with Philly, you lost your locker room last year. Your team flat out quit on you.
Yeah.
He's going to be on a short leash. If it starts to go south, Sirianni's gone. He's kind of a weirdo anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it would hurt that many people's feelings if they did fire him. That's a talented team. I don't know that anyone's hitting on the draft better than Philly. I don't know if anybody's hitting in free agency better than Philly. Why did they bow out to Tampa in a wild card game last year? That doesn't make any sense. Oh, but Nick Sirianni, yeah, you might be on a hotter seat than you'd even think, even though they might be a Super Bowl contender. I just don't know if it's with that weird guy on the sideline.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. I like Nick Sirianni, especially if things go south. For me, though, I think the one that should go if they really, because they had a really hot start to their season and they really fell off towards the end of the year, is the Jags coach. And I'm blanking on his name right now.
Doug Peterson.
Doug Peterson.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're right.
Doug Peterson, if he can't get that team together, especially after paying Trevor Lawrence, if they are going all in with Trevor Lawrence, he needs to be gone. Because
he's got some
the way they ended last year was not okay. At all.
Should have been in the postseason.
So
melted down. I think they lost 5 of their last 6 and melted down. Yeah, you're right. He should be. He's that seat's got to be getting warm. And again, owners and GMs aren't going to fire themselves.
Yep.
They're going to fire the guy that didn't get it done with hey, we picked these guys for you. Why didn't you do anything with them? Yeah, you're right. Doug Peterson's on a hot seat for sure.
Yeah. There are a lot of
there's a lot wrong.
Of them. There's a lot of them. Yeah.
You know,
for sure.
when you're dealing with parity, that line for margin of error, I mean, my goodness. People, you look at Houston last year. Houston, I think, finished 10-7 last year. I think that was their record.
Yeah.
You're an eyelash away from, being 8-9? I mean, it's that close. And if you're 8-9, everybody's looking at Houston. Going, no, they're cute, but now everybody's talking about Houston like they're a Super Bowl contender. Maybe they are. I don't know.
Seriously,
but
they really are.
That fine of a line. It's that fine of a line between being Jacksonville and or being Indy and being Houston. The line is small. Got to make your money when you get a chance.
Yeah. All right. Final question of the night. Who is your Super Bowl prediction?
Oh man. Yeah, that's tough. That is a tough one. And of course, so many things play into it and injuries and but I'm not willing. I don't like doing the GOAT conversation. I don't like comparing eras. I don't like doing it. But it's really, really hard for me, as painful as this is to me, to go against Patrick Mahomes. He just keeps finding ways to win. And last year it was Patriot, Belichick, Brady-ish. They looked like they had holes. We found how we're going to beat them. Someone's going to trip them up. They lost this game. They got blown out in this game. And then he puts it together and he makes play after play after play after play. Are they aging? Yeah, Travis Kelce's getting older. They actually look better this year than they did last year. And they won it all last year.
Their
I
offense actually
can't.
has some
Oh,
substance to
they've
it.
got some big weapons.
Yeah.
Bringing in Worthy, bringing in Hollywood, they've got some huge weapons. He might have the most weapons he's had for sure since Tyreek, but
Yeah.
maybe overall more
Yeah.
than even when he had Tyreek. I'm gonna try to jinx him. Just between you and me, I'm gonna try to jinx him. I'm gonna say Chiefs over Detroit, Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. Yeah, I'll go Chiefs over Detroit Lions. I like the Lions. I like their story. I like their head coach. They're doing some good things. They're a tough team. If he'd stop going for it on 4th and stupid, they'll be fine. I'll go Chiefs over Lions in the Super Bowl. What say you?
Oh, this one's tough for me. I think I can see either. I think it's going to be an NFC winner this year.
All
I think
right.
it's going to be either the Niners or the Eagles. I think there's a case for either. Um, just because they're solid from top to bottom.
Yes, they are.
I
Loaded
mean,
with
the
talent.
Niners were right there last year, and I think the Eagles got a lot better this year, and they were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. So I think either one of them, because of locker room issues, I'm going to go with the 49ers. I think they're
Okay.
solid. I think we've kind of been building up this villain for a long time. They've been so close, so close, so
Yep.
close, and I think they're finally going to get it. They're not going to be the Bills. I think they're finally going to get it and gonna win. So,
Uh, I'm 500 years older than you are. If you would have told me back in the 90s, there's going to come a day when people will look at the San Francisco 49ers and be like, they just can't win the big one. I would have been like, what are you
yeah, what are you
talking?
talking about?
And
Yeah,
yet here we are. They just can't win the big one. Hey, good pick. They should be there.
yeah,
They are loaded with talent. Both teams,
yeah.
Philly and San Francisco, loaded with talent. There is no reason that they shouldn't be there. They were more
Yeah.
talented than Kansas City was last year.
I agree. I agree. In terms of pure talent,
Pure
yes.
talent. Yeah,
Yes.
across the board.
Completely agree. Yes.
And I'm
Even
hey,
even when they were bad, I still
yes,
didn't lose belief in them. I knew they were the best team in the league.
they're so stacked.
Yeah. And they
Both
don't
sides
have
of the
very many
ball.
years left either.
No,
That's the
the
thing.
window will start closing because
Yep.
you're going to start getting guys are already wanting bigger contracts. You're going to start
Yep.
having guys move on. The defense will start getting older. It's a limited amount of time.
Yep. Yep.
I'm just hoping to jinx the Chiefs. I'm going to be completely transparent with you.
I love it. I love
I
it.
hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Prove me wrong. Not only are they going to win, they're going to go 17-0. They're going to roll I'm going to put it up big. Yeah.
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 I love it.
Please, I want to be wrong.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Said MVP prediction.
You know, I should go Patrick Mahomes here. I'm gonna go. There's a guy that's gonna remind everyone how good he is this year. He's healthy again this year. And if he is, he's the guy that can knock off Patrick Mahomes. He's the only guy that can knock off Patrick Mahomes, and that is Joe Burrow. If Joe
Oh,
Burrow is healthy, I like. Hey, he has proven to be a Chiefs killer.
true.
I'll go Joe Burrow. I'll say Joe Burrow comes back fully healthy this year. Maybe he doesn't get sacked 90 times or something this year. He's got, his wide receiver is getting that contract. I think it sounds like that's going to be a done deal. So yeah, I'll go Joe Burrow. I'll say he's going to be the MVP, and then he can derail my Chiefs pick, and I'm going to be fine with that. I'll be happy to be wrong.
Okay. I like it. I like it. I talked earlier about I believe in this guy this year. I'm gonna go
Yeah,
Jalen Hurts.
I like it. Good
So
pick. Good pick.
yeah.
He's got an opportunity. He's got some talent around him. He's got a very good team around him. Let's hope Sirianni doesn't leave him out to dry, or that they go get someone better when they fire Sirianni halfway through the season.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on the pod. It
Absolutely.
was super, super fun to chop it up with you, talk football, talk Denver Broncos. Make sure to go look into Daly Dose Podcast. He definitely knows what he's talking about. I love it.
Hey, anytime you need to talk sports in general, you want to get more specific and talk Denver sports, we can do that. But enjoyed being on the show, a lot of fun, and wish you the best with your podcast. Keep it rolling. Like to see young guys like you getting out there and talking to a lot of people, working hard, because even just talking throughout the week, prepping for I can see you're putting in work. Keep doing the work. Keep doing your homework, because you're doing a nice job. So keep it up.
Thank you. Really appreciate that props. So, all right, have a good one.
You do the same.